First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And I just want to make a note that we removed the proclamation for the girls' state track. They can't be here until next meeting. So
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
it's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next is the consent agenda. Entertain a motion for that.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second it. I'll prove it.
Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Is there anybody here from the public like to make a comment to something that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, go down to new business. Brick Street project review bids. Jason.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I've included a letter in the packet that hopefully you've all been able to see or read. We had a bid opening on Wednesday of last week for the. Is that not on? Hello? Oh, there, now it's on. I hear it now, okay. So we had a bid opening for the Brick Street replacement of the intersection at 8th and High. So that would be all the pavers and the pavement inside the crosswalks there as kind of a starting point with Brick Street improvements. We had the bid opening last Wednesday, received 3 bids, and they were a little higher than we anticipated. I think it's probably due, after talking with the guys, it's probably due to the small size of the project. You just kind of lose that economy of scale. But Heartstone Incorporated out of Wichita submitted the low bid. And the way we set the bid package up, we had it bid as bid option 1, where they would pull up and reuse the existing bricks. We're expecting some of them will get damaged. Public Works has some excess to use. But that's option 1, is to reuse the existing bricks and put them back and kind of retain that historical feel. And then bid option 2 was to just look at what's the price for all new pavers. Just trash what we have and let's bring in new pavers. So if you look at the attached bid tabulations, that's what we're looking at between bid option 1 and bid option 2. So I did talk to Heartstone, and they kind of focus on this type of work. I think that's also probably why they're lower and some of the others are a lot higher. They do a lot of work in Wichita and Kansas City, some of the big areas with pavers, and did a lot of paver work for Wichita's their Bricktown area. But if this is something that the city wants to proceed and move forward with, I've got a recommendation in there to waive our estimate and award the contract to Heartstone Incorporated for either the bid option 1 or the bid option 2 amount. And they would be looking at trying to start in about a month and a half, and they're looking at about a 3 to 4 week project to button it all up. So that's kind of the highlights. Yeah.
Just a quick question. When they take those up, my understanding is there's all just sand underneath there. Are they going to pour concrete and lay it back on concrete? What's the process there?
Right. So we're not exactly sure what's under there. There are some records of some concrete in areas, but I think it's been kind of filled in over time or patched when there's been problems. The plan is to remove the pavers, clean them, stack them, and then we're going to have them put back. They'll dig down about 15 inches or so and come back in with a 6-inch aggregate base and then 8 inches of concrete. So you actually have a pavement structure out there that's not going to be heaving and shifting and potholing out. And then with pavers, it does require, like 3/4 of an inch of sand. And you set the pavers in it and they vibrate them in and try to smooth it all out. And then we also specified a polymeric joint sand, which has it's sand that goes in the joints, but it's got little polymers in it, and they wet it down and it helps kind of glue that sand in place. So hopefully you won't be losing the sand and having the bricks shift and move over time. So yeah, you'll actually get a street pavement out of this when it's done. questions?
Any other questions for Jason?
So that's considered a short block, right? I mean, if we compared it to a city block, that's what, a third?
Yeah, probably about in that. I don't know the
Remember what
exact
our
number.
original estimates were for a block, and it was much higher than this.
400 something.
400,
thousand,
right.
I think was
Yeah.
the,
So,
yeah, this was just doing the
yeah,
intersection. Just to,
right. I was trying to figure out how much higher a block would be, you know, per what we got 2 years ago whenever we looked at it. So hard to relate that to this.
Yeah, it is a little harder. And this also has a lot of, shutting all the streets down, coming to it for a short time, and a lot of intense work, a lot of intense effort for a smaller area. I do think if you were to get a longer segment, we'd also probably get some more of the street contractors that we see in this area bidding it.
We talked a lot about this in our Public Works Committee meeting, and the I think everybody was into using the brick, new brick, and part of what we were discussing was you have to clean the bricks, and a lot of the bricks that are there are, chipped and that kind of thing, and they said it'd be like 30% of the bricks wouldn't be able to be used. And I think that the people that do this probably have used bricks that they can bring in. My question about that is, are they going to be the same color? Are they going to look the same? And the other thing is, I think people will look at it and say, why'd you spend all this money? It looks exactly the same as it did. But I think with the new bricks, I think it would be more uniform and it would look like we did something that's going to last.
Yeah, those are fair points. We've done a number of these Brick Street projects, and one of them I can think of in Hiawatha. They have a historic district in their downtown square, and the bricks were actually part of the on the National Register as part of that district, and so we had to put the old bricks back when we did that project. They didn't have an option to take them out and do something different, but we've done some where they'd bring in new pavers. We did say in the new paver option, they need to provide color samples and match it as close as we possibly can to what's out there. Sure, there's probably going to be a little difference, but I don't know that you would. I mean, you might notice more that the new bricks are new compared to the old bricks that are beat up and kind of chunked up rather than the color themselves. But yeah, fair point. So.
And I know there isn't all that many bricks out at the Public Works anymore.
Right. They don't have an unlimited supply. So yeah, if you did go with bid option one, so let's go that route. If you did go with bid option one and they start pulling those bricks up and they're just falling apart, we may have to come back and reassess and game plan. Well, do we just go to option two because we don't have enough brick, or do we bring in an outside source that don't know if it's going to match or look right? So there is some risk with that. So with option two, that risk kind of goes away. You're getting all new brick.
Right.
any other questions for Jason?
So
Right now.
Casey, isn't that downtown a historic district now?
It's state historic district. It hasn't gotten through the whole process,
The national, okay.
but I think this would align with the historic district since we're going back with brick. Either way,
And it wouldn't matter if we go,
New or old?
yeah.
Okay.
as long as I think it's the historic requirements. And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. As long as you go back with like product.
Yeah. As long as you're not, you wouldn't want to go back with concrete with no brick or stamped concrete or something like that. But yeah, the example I gave with Hiawatha, that was federally funded, and the brick itself was named in the district and all that. So it created kind of another layer that complicated it, but I don't foresee that being a problem here.
Any other questions for Jason? Not right now. You might get called back up.
Not yet. Okay. Thank you.
Russ, I'll have you come up. Just I had Russ kind of take a look at the budget because we have that sales tax. So I wanted him to kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so Casey asked me to research just to see how much we had sales tax that had built up in that fund over the past couple years. So currently, as of today, we have just a little over $260,000 is what we have.
And Russ, do you know or do you remember how long is that 2-year time period?
I want to say it was a little over 2 years. I want to say it's actually like 3 years ago. I felt like it's 3 years ago that it's taken to get to this point. But it's all sales tax driven, so it really just depends on how much the consumers are spending here in town to generate that.
Questions for Russ on that?
You know what budget line item that is by chance?
I want to say it's in the highway fund. Is actually where that's earmarked in.
Yeah, I mean special highway.
Yes, special highway fund.
Trying to figure out. So I think 168,000 was forecasted for this year.
Correct.
At the 25 budget year to date, and it looks like
I think it was voted in
so it'd be
3 years from this fall, but it didn't take effect until April 1st of. '22. Okay.
So it looks like just sales tax associated, so it's going to change as the sales tax revenues change. But it looks like if you look at the month to date or year to date budget to actual for May, like we're at 168,000 for the year, and I think May was like 15,000. See how currently it's filling up.
Thank you, Russ. Anybody else like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none. Council discussion.
I can say I'm kind of with Julie with maybe going with the new brick option. It doesn't seem like it's that much more expensive. And then it kind of takes out the guesswork, but
It's definitely, I mean, this decision to me kind of sets the pace for the rest of it because if we go new on this intersection from here on out, we're going to have to probably go new. Just the historical side of me likes to use the old brick just because it's still that old brick feel, but it's a personal opinion to me. So,
but if we run in, oh, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
I was just going to say I'm hesitant to commit to new brick. I mean, this is only a $20,000 difference, but we're just looking at an intersection, whereas looking at entire streets, and that's going to add up significantly.
But when we continue to do more streets, if we run out of used brick, then we got the intersection with used brick, and then now we have a different road with new brick too. I mean, depending on how many.
You could argue the intersection is the original old brick, and then all the new comes, so you mix kind of the old with the new as like a flashback thing. I don't know. I'm spitballing. Just talking.
Well, I've already stated what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, they're all good arguments.
Yeah.
I'm a historical guy. I like the old stuff. If we can reuse it, I know is it stronger? I've cut into one, and I can tell you, I've cut into a new one, and but I don't know. I don't know the difference between like a regular standard brick versus a new paver. They're bigger,
I'm not 100% sure on that. It's going to depend on what was provided at that time, what they made it out of, and different quality aspects to today. But
The only the, to piggyback off that, the concern I'd have with the new brick is what we've seen in our sidewalks. The newer stuff disintegrated pretty quickly with salt and sand, or salt, I would imagine is what caused that. But any
talking about those bricks.
delay in the cement in our sidewalks downtown,
They weren't
Oh,
really
oh,
bricks.
Were they?
was it? Is it?
Oh, those, I think those are a different type
Yeah.
of brick.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
It's not a similar brick to that because those didn't.
Those things crumbled like a cookie.
I know.
I mean, we can kind of answer our own question. They're still there after 100 some years, so they've kind of proven themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point on are we going to have enough? But if you think about our 14 block, what we approved, we got a lot of other
Right.
bricks in other spaces that are going to have to go at some point.
Well, they just have to match it the best they could.
Well,
Yeah.
no, you just pull up, are we going to do 9th Street? At some point, that's going to have to be,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
done like the other streets. If it's not part of our Brick Street program, we can't continue to, I don't think we can continue to try to repair that. I mean, to me, it's hot patching it until it becomes unfeasible. Then you got to bite the bullet and say either do a benefit district or,
Right.
you got to chip and seal it like every other road in town. So, and there's
That's not part of the project, though.
no, but it
Ninth
could
is
it
not.
could be no. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just down high and 8th, and not all of 8th. I don't think 8th goes all the way to 10th, does it? It just went
No.
9th.
Yeah, it stops at 9th.
So, I mean, there are bricks that will be available. So it's just a matter of, I mean, this is, you see how long it took us to get enough to do this. I mean, it's going to be a long project. And I think something's going to have to be done with some of those other streets before that.
I don't think it's a terrible idea to just commit to the intersection and see how it goes, and then bleed out from there. If it's like this was a huge pain, it's costing way more.
Well, I would assume they'd be able to pull them all up first and then make a determination of how many of those are reusable.
Right.
If it's half, we might have a problem. If it's a certain percentage, then I think we'd have a better comfort level that the rest of the bricks will be about the same.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it would be a good sample
Yeah.
of what we're going to run into.
And I would assume we might be able to say, depending on the percentage of reusable bricks that they pulled up out of the intersection, whether we might, pivot and go new if we had to. Would make sense putting, you can't put bad bricks down. You have to find them somewhere. So, I mean, that might be an option.
The idea of this was to do this intersection kind of like what we did with sidewalks and then start. We've already applied for a grant once and got denied, but this kind of shows the state that we're committed to doing a project. We've already invested in it, and then attached to it from here is kind of what the premise was to get these bids.
Kind of like Julie, though. I'd like to see some shiny new bricks.
Mm-hmm.
For that much money, is like, wow, look at that. I mean, you'd be able to tell that it's been redone. It's,
Yeah, like I said, this is just
it's
my
rough.
history side.
I mean,
It's not wrong.
love to get, feedback from the community if they're wanting to share, because it's something that I think would probably be people would have an opinion on. So, do we need to make this decision tonight, or
Come up to the mic.
Jerry Smith, 1308 High Street, Baldwin City. It depends on how you remove the bricks as to whether you're going to have any good bricks left over or not. If they come in with the loader and they start pushing them and breaking them, then you got something. That's something that you need to take into consideration, whether you have any bricks left that you can use or not. I would think that was, sorry, thank you for your time.
that's a good point. I would think if we asked for reusing the bricks, they're going to have to not do that, right? They wouldn't. If we say we're new bricks, they might just come in and just not care how they got them up, right? To your point. So that's a good point. But if we said, hey, we're going to try to reuse them, they're going to have to be careful.
Yeah, Jason, how, I guess you said they can start in a month and a half or whatever. When do they need an answer by?
Yeah, so the bids are good for, I think it's 60 days. It's 45 at least.
Okay.
But
So we have
yeah, it's 60
another
days.
councilman.
So you could catch it at the next council meeting if you need to visit about it and make a decision from there. You know, he told me he's roughly about a month out based on their current workload. So I don't know if over 2 or 3 weeks that would change dramatically. You know, you might still be a few weeks or probably still a month out from when you make a decision at the next time. So just know that the closer we get into fall or the closer we get to maple leaf,
So we
the
want to
harder
avoid
it's
maple.
going to be
That's the
to
biggest thing.
make sure that happens. So, but it's about 3 to 4 weeks worth of work to get in, get it all out, get it back, open it up, and be done.
So does that council want to push this to the next meeting?
Everybody who wants to weigh in on it. I
Yeah.
don't know if we can put it out there saying, hey,
Lynn, do you want to put it out on social media, kind of get some feedback? Maybe like a little poll or something on social media to see
or
what people think about new bricks versus old bricks?
yeah,
Yeah.
and the
We-
and the
the
price
cost,
differential.
yeah.
So
The cost involved.
yeah,
$20,000 more to go new
for,
bricks.
for the intersection. So just roughly, I'm guessing it'd be 60,000 for a block.
More expensive.
More expensive if we extrapolated that out to per block. So I mean, these are all rough. And he was shaking his head. I mean, if you just sit there and think where that intersection is and how wide that is, and then just go from there all the way down to the next street, it
Right.
might be less than a third, but we'll say it's a third. We're just asking for feedback.
All right, so we'll put this on the next agenda. Okay, we will go to committee reports. Budget and Finance, Scott.
Yeah, we had a meeting, and so we spent a lot of time discussing the agenda and information that we used in the electric fund work session. That took up most of it. Then we also talked about the municipal solar project status, and we're going to need to reconcile that in the budget conversation going forward. You know, our option number one is no longer an option for that, so we're going to have to revisit. You know, what else we want to do, other locations, or you know, go with generators, add more generators. So it's going to affect our plan. You remember going through the utility, the capacity conversation, all that. It will affect that. So that will be part of, I think, the budget conversation on what we want to try to do for power next year. And we got an update from Russ on the US 56 corridor project. And I don't know if there's anything that.
We're waiting on more information.
Yeah, I think it was just trying to get more information about what they were asking us to do. I think what we decided was we're trying to figure out if we actually have to do that, if we've committed to that project. You know, we owe 20% of the construction costs, so we're trying to figure that out. I think the discussion was, you know, you probably don't want to back out of a project that's been on. How long has this been percolating?
2014. 2014, I think.
Yeah, so we're just trying to figure out what the council's options are, have that brought forward, what the costs are, what we're going to get for that, and kind of revisit this again. It sounds like they may be wanting to get moving on it at some point. So we discussed that, and then just the other thing is really within the within our policy around for city manager to spend, but there's a Placer AI subscription that the rec committee uses it provides information about where people are from at events, right? So it can tabulate all this information that you get at these events, whether it's Maple Leaf or anything else. actually uses cell phone data to do that, so we kind of know. So I think we discussed, and again, this is something that was already in the budget. We've already paid last year's subscription, so they're wanting to renew. So we talked about splitting it in thirds. It's like $6,000 for 3 years,
per year.
or 6,000 per year. They wanted a 3-year contract, so we're talking about splitting it with the rec and the economic development committee in the city. So it'd be a third. So that's where that was. I think.
And that'd be available for all
Yeah,
anybody, any business that wants to use it and wants reports on how many people are coming to their.
so it'll be certainly something available for any business, whether it's the chamber or anybody that wants to try to figure out where we drawing people from, and then maybe do marketing around that. So it'll be a tool that any business can use or any entity can use. So, and that was it. And next meeting will be. Do we need a meeting Friday? Let's see. What do we have left? I don't think we do.
We're still waiting for the.
We don't have the budget. We
Well,
haven't
the
seen
county should be getting their figures back to us.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we might want to have a meeting.
Yeah, we do want to jump on that. So we'll meet this Friday, 7:30 a.m., second floor of City Hall.
Community development, Corey.
Yeah, we met this month, and we had 2 agenda items. One of them ended up they weren't ready for the pole banner conversation yet. I think they were waiting on something, so they pushed to the next meeting. They're going to present then. And then we had a couple business owners ask that we bring back the food truck ordinance conversation. If you recall, that kind of got left in limbo. We had a request to kind of revisit it in the spring. And so we're, I guess, a little bit past that. And we just kind of listened to a couple of their concerns, addressed what had already been discussed up until that point when the conversation was left. And we're going to leave it on the CDC agenda going forward, and get Shay now involved, that she's the city attorney. Last time it was Dakota. So about how to draw something up. Next meeting is the 23rd, second floor City Hall, 4 o'clock.
Public safety, Susan.
We did that today at 4 o'clock. We discussed marijuana fines. Currently, Baldwin doesn't have anything. It's kind of determined by the judge. So we looked at the state statute and ultimately decided we'd look at surrounding cities. So Mike is going to bring back the fines from 5 cities for us to look at next month. And we discussed 6th and Chapel, just a potentially dangerous situation with parking there. It's hard to see around the cars. So we talked about potentially putting parking signs. And then we talked about speeding on East High Street. And I guess the homes are in the city limits, but the road is not necessarily. So
Well, we think it's corrected now.
yeah,
We're waiting for verification.
right. Jurisdiction as kind of some blurred lines, but Douglas County Sheriff granted law enforcement temporary jurisdiction, and there's going to be trailers there to impede speeders. And then we just had further conversation on the blurred lines between city and county that Russ is diligently working on. So that will be further discussions at our next meeting, which is July 8th at 4 o'clock.
Public Works, Julie.
Yeah, the Public Works guys met with Bettis regarding the chip and seal plan, which will begin in August. They also talked to Paul Vanderteig with the Baldwin Association, the Golf Association, to let him know what to expect when they start doing the golf course parking lot, which was a good idea. We have a new water pump for the fountain. The splash pad with the hand button is working much better. They're not having as many problems with that. The pool have some grout, tile, and quality issues that need to be addressed, and they're working on that. Also, the Blackjack Park has been added to the mowing schedule. The new substation, the concrete contractor, and Mid-States are planning to do dirt work and concrete slabs on July 7th. The second half of August is the new due date for the transformer delivery. They've had some problems. Diesel fuel was found infiltrating the after cooling system on Unit 8, determined that the water treatment added to cooling lines were corroded beyond repair. With supportive parts from the city of Holton, all 36 injections were rebuilt, and the 48 injector cooling hoses were built and replaced. The water softener failed during this flushing process and has been replaced. They will try to recover some of the repair costs from the chemical manufacturer and the distributor. I'm sorry. I kind of watered this down on what really happened, but I wanted to put it in my report because I wanted people to know how hard our public works guys work, because they had to rebuild all of these things and they had to do all this flushing of the diesel out and everything. So anyway, my next meeting is July 10th at 9 o'clock.
Julie, did they mention when the chip and seal project was starting, or what? Did I miss that in
It's to begin in August.
August?
Yeah.
Okay. Strategic planning, Scott.
We have not met and don't currently have anything on the calendar.
Okay. Any staff comments? They're not meeting. Staff comments? Any further council comments? Okay. We do need an executive session for an employee matter. With myself, city attorney will be here in a couple minutes, and the city council for probably 30 minutes. Reconvene at 8:05. Any motion for that?
I motion that.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
What's that? Surgery on
I'm sorry, Shay, I didn't get that pushed back.
What?
The TV screen.
I was going to have to duck anyway.
Call the meeting back to order at 8:05.
Okay. So I move to remove City Administrator Glenn Rodden effective immediately.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I second it.
Been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Need to entertain a motion to go back into executive session with the council, myself, city administrator, and Russ Harding until 8:20.
I make that motion.
Did you mean assistant city administrator?
Yeah.
Yeah. Assistant city administrator, Russ Harding.
I second that motion.
Been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All-
Anybody move for that?
Susan did.
Susan
Oh,
moved.
Thank you. I just heard your
We're in
second.
executive session.
I am.
Call the meeting back to order, 8:20. Here. I'll entertain any other motions this time.
So I move that we establish a finding that section 3B in the contract for Glen Rodden has been triggered.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Any further motions?
I move to appoint Russ Harding interim city administrator.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Any other motions?
I move
to
we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are adjourned.